A few months ago, I came across a video made by an American who listed clubs you didn't know won the Champions League. He said the last one would surprise us all, and his list was as follows: Ajax, Benfica and Nottingham Forest. In the interest of education and making fun of casuals who started watching football 2 weeks ago, here is a list of clubs who have made the UCL or European Cup final that might actually surprise you. We start off with the oldest inclusion on the list. Stade de Reims played not one but two European Cup finals, losing both to Real Madrid. In 1956, a Reims side containing Raymond Kopa and Michel Hidalgo actually took the lead twice against Real Madrid, ultimately losing 4-3 in one of football history's biggest what-ifs. 3 years later, losing Copa to Real Madrid but gaining Just Fontaine, they returned to the final but were comprehensively defeated 2-0 by the Spanish side. In second, we have a team that dramatically lost last season's Europa Conference League final. Fiorentina's glory days came right when the European Cup was getting underway, with La Viola winning the league title in 1956 and 1969. In 1957, they became the first Italian team to reach the final, but lost 2-0 at the Bernabeu via goals from Alfredo Di Stefano and Paco Gento. The final was not without controversy, however, surrounding Real Madrid's first goal. Dutch referee Leo Horn awarded a penalty for a foul on Enrique Mateos. However, the foul appeared to be outside of the penalty area, and furthermore, in the build-up, the referee ignored his linesman, who was signaling that Mateos was offside. As we come to our third inclusion, we find the last of Real Madrid's victims in the early days of the European Cup, Eintracht Frankfurt. In 1959, a thrilling game unfolded at Hamden Park, Puskás scoring 4 and Di Stefano 3, as Real Madrid ran out 7-3 winners in the highest scoring European final ever. The game was almost called off due to a controversy surrounding Real Madrid's Ferenc Puskás, the German Football Association having banned their clubs from taking part in matches with any team containing him, after he had made allegations that the West German team had used performance-enhancing drugs at the 1954 World Cup final when the Germans miraculously beat the mighty Magyars. Puskás had to make a formal written apology before the match could take place. In fifth, we find the first and so far only Greek team to play a European Cup final in 1971. Despite being led by Ferenc Puskás from the dugout, Panathinaikos were no match for total football, as Johan Cruyff's Ajax side took home a 2-0 victory at Wembley. In sixth, we now come to a team that many people don't know have won the joint most trophies in France. Long before Qatar invested their millions into PSG, Saint-Étienne were the undisputed masters of France, with their glory days peaking in the 70s. Saint-Étienne reached the European Cup final in 1976, where they would face Bayern, who had won the last two editions. Although the French team gave a good account of themselves, they were unable to stop Bayern, as Franz Roth's goal made the only difference in Glasgow. For the team in seventh, I also have a full-length documentary which will be linked below, namely Borussia Mönchengladbach. Whilst Bayern were dominating in Europe, Borussia Mönchengladbach were dominating in Germany. Gladbach's golden era came in the 1970s, as a young squad with a fast, aggressive playing style went out to win 5 Bundesliga titles and 2 UEFA Cups. This enabled them to reach the 1977 European Cup final. Sadly for them, they encountered an equally golden generation of Liverpool players who guided their team to a 3-1 win. The very next year, Liverpool made the final again, and this time they would face Club Brugge. The Belgians had already lost the 1976 UEFA Cup final to the Reds and would have no doubt loved to enact some sweet revenge. But Kenny Dalglish's 64th minute goal would see the Reds take home the victory in Wembley. The final tournament of the 70s provided a historic upset for all to enjoy, as Swedish giants Malmo faced off against Nottingham Forest. Led by an English manager in Bob Houghton, Malmo defeated Monaco, Dynamo Kiev, Wisla Krakow and Austria Vienna before taking on Brian Clough's Forest. In his first ever European Cup final, Trevor Francis would justify Clough's decision to make him Britain's first £1 million footballer, scoring just before the break to secure a 1-0 victory in München. Steaua Bucharest comes in 10th spot, and as some of the more cultured amongst you might know, they won the European Cup in 1986 against Barcelona. What you might not know is that after reaching the 1988 semi-finals, they also reached the 1989 final. There would however be no fairy tale like in 1986, as a Milan team led by Arrigo Sacchi and containing Maldini, Ancelotti and Van Basten amongst other superstars thrashed them 4-0. Funnily enough, they would repeat the scoreline 5 years later against Barcelona, the team Steaua defeated in 1986. And now for our last inclusion, and we turn to an Italian club not usually mentioned amongst the Inters and Milans. Sampdoria reached the 1992 European Cup final with Roberto Mancini and Gianluca Vialli leading their front line. They put up a stiff fight against Barcelona, who had the likes of Laudrup and Koeman in the ranks and Cruyff on the touchline. A 112th minute goal by Koeman would see Samp's hopes dashed at the last minute as Barcelona won their first European Cup. Thank you so much for watching till the end. If you liked the video and want to see more content like this, I urge you to subscribe, and I will see you next time.